quite overshadowed by the West Virginia flooding and the Brexit decision, has been the deadlock of the Supreme Court that has dealt a big blow to Obama's immigration plan. The Supreme Court deadlocking Thursday on President Obama's immigration plan that sought to shield millions living in the U.S. illegally from deportation, effectively killing the plan for the rest of his presidency. Now, this outcome underscores the direction of the U.S. immigration policy will be determined in large part by this fall's presidential election, a campaign in which immigration has already played an outsized role. On the line to talk with us about this morning, how it's going to affect those who are already living in the U.S., what happens next. Byron Henry, a legal expert, joins us from solidcounsel.com. Good morning, Henry. Byron. All right, now I got you. Sorry, I called you Henry. I went by your last name first.
That's okay.
All right. Well, Byron Henry joins us this morning. We're talking about this 4-4 tie. It sets no national precedent, but it leaves in place the ruling by the lower court. The justices issuing this one-sentence opinion with no further comment, and the rest of us are like, well, what just happened?
Well, exactly. You know, when the Supreme Court deadlocks 4-4, it just simply affirms whatever the lower court did and leaves the question nationally for another day in another case. So in this case, the lower court had upheld an injunction effectively blocking President Obama's immigration action, temporarily blocking Obama's immigration action until the case had worked its way all the way through and been completed. And that's what's going to happen now, which, as you mentioned in your lead-in, that effectively blocks the immigration plan through the remainder of his presidency.
Mm-hmm. Now, with no threat of deportation, people were starting to feel more comfortable. But now what happens with the people who live in this country illegally? Or do we have to wait until the next presidency?
Well, first of all, I think with respect to deportation, that the executive is still going to have the discretion to prioritize deportations, meaning he's made it clear that he's going to focus on those that have criminal records, those that have not been here as long, and those that don't have families. He'd like to keep families intact. And I think the president still has that authority to prioritize deportations. What he does not have the authority to do under the current court order blocking his plan is to basically alter those people's status from unlawful to lawful, thus giving them the right to get a driver's license, the right to get work papers, and take advantage of some other government benefits that are here for those if they're here lawfully. So that is not going to happen, which was, I believe, President Obama's ultimate goal, was not to just not deport those people, but if he's not going to deport them, then allow them to basically live here as if they were here lawfully, get a job, work, driver's licenses, et cetera, and that is just not going to happen.
Well, that's something I think that upsets a lot of people to hear, because it's like, well, if we're going to give them residency and we're going to give them basically citizenship, why not go through the rigors of becoming a citizen like those who have before them?
Well, and that was part of the controversy. The controversy was not just that President Obama was opting to not deport these people. Let's remember that President Obama's deportation numbers are either very similar to prior presidents or higher in a lot of his years than former presidents. So it's not as if President Obama
is brand new at this. Right.
Yeah, it's not like he hasn't deported illegal immigrants. The issue here was that it was kind of twofold. It was, one, he was circumventing Congress because Congress sets immigration policy, and we know that there's a big deadlock in Congress with respect to any type of immigration reform right now. Mm-hmm. And the other one is that citizenship issue, that all these others that are here legally, that have their green cards, that have gone through the system and done it correctly, and had to wait to get the right to work and to get driver's licenses and stay in this country legally, that it's unfair just as a fundamental concept that those who are here illegally should receive the same benefits that those that are here legally.
You know, we've had a lot of stuff going on in the news. We've had the sit-in on gun control in Congress, and we've had, West Virginia had some terrible flooding, and we're trying to help out over there. And now we've got Brexit taking precedence. But it seems like stories like this, which are heavy when it comes to the campaigning of the next president of the United States, sort of kind of go under our radar. So I'm really happy to be talking with you this morning, Byron, about what happens next. And, who has become the go-to guy for the Supreme Court stories but you?
Well, I think there's two takeaways from this. One, it just highlights the importance of the next presidential election because, as you know, with a deadlock of 4-4, the Supreme Court did not write an opinion saying that the President of the United States lacks the authority to take this action. A lower court did, but not the Supreme Court, which means the Obama administration, any future Democratic presidents that want to take action on immigration, probably caught a break with the passing of Justice Scalia, because had he been on the court, he probably would have joined a majority basically saying this can't be done at all in the future, and it would have really hamstrung any future president. So that's the first thing. And, of course, what everybody else knows is that the Supreme Court appointment of the balance of the Supreme Court basically is an issue in this election, and the next Supreme Court justice, however that justice is on different issues, is basically going to tip the balance one way or the other on very controversial issues such as abortion and separation of powers and immigration, which is not going away.
We're speaking with Byron Henry. He's a legal expert from solidcounsel.com, and thankfully he's made himself available to us this early morning to talk about the Supreme Court's deadlock in Obama's immigration plan. I was going to say proposition, but it's an immigration plan that sought to shield millions living in the U.S. illegally from deportation. And as you mentioned, Byron, to give them rights that legal citizens have, those who have gone through all of the red tape, basically, to become citizens. It's like handing it over, saying, well, since you're already here, you don't have to go through any of the work. We'll just give it to you. And unfortunately, there is, I think there's a big kickback from the American people that says, you know what, let's not just hand this over, especially when you have other people working really hard for it. What is this going to do in terms of Congress? You said that the president was trying to bypass having to go through Congress. Are they going to be involved again, or where is this going to go?
Well, of course, according to the lower courts and most legal scholars, Congress has to be involved. They have the ultimate say on immigration, and it requires a change of the law, because right now the law is these people are here unlawfully, and they are not entitled to lawful status, green cards, work papers, and other benefits. So President Obama himself gave many speeches before he took this action saying that he couldn't change the law, that it was not within his authority to actually change the law. He needed to go through Congress and work with Congress to get something done. Of course, when that failed, he went ahead and issued his executive order anyway. But, yes, the ball is in the next president and the next Congress's court with respect to immigration, because nothing's going to happen this late in a heated presidential election year.
All right. Byron, thanks for joining us this morning. I appreciate your being with us and helping us understand a little bit more of what went on and what we can expect. I know for sure that this is going to be a very big topic as we move through the next few months headed toward the November election. And we've got Donald Trump on one side saying that this isn't going to happen. We are going to take America back. We're going to put up a wall, and then we've got Hillary Clinton saying that she supports the Obama administration and what they're trying to do.
Exactly, and if you look at the last, the British exit of the European Union, one of the things we learned from that is that immigration and immigration policy in Great Britain and the European Union was a huge issue. So this is not just an issue in the United States, it's an issue across the world, and we'll just have to see how it plays out in the American election.
Well, can we contact you in the meanwhile and just sort of touch base with you as we see how things work out, because you have a better understanding of it, and I'd much rather talk to you than try to figure it out myself.
Certainly, anytime.
Excellent. Byron, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.